Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. Today we are doing my April reading wrap up, and I read so many books this month, like the most books I've ever read this month. Basically I got sick and I couldn't do very much for like a week and a half or so, so I had a lot more free time than usual because all my stuff was like cancelled. So I think I have 23 books in total today, and we're just gonna go ahead and get into it because this is gonna take a little bit of time to get through. Okay, so let's start with a new to me author. I actually read 2 of her thrillers this month because thrillers were a big go-to for me this month because I wasn't feeling well. I just needed something super page-turning basically. So I started with The Club, and I talked about this in my book haul recently. I'll link it above if you want to check it out. But the basic premise of this is there's this exclusive club that's like super luxurious. It's for the very wealthy, for celebrities to get away from like the paparazzi and stuff. However, it gets so intense. I really enjoyed this. Basically, tensions at the club are at an all-time high. You have employees who are starting to break down. You have celebrities who are losing it. There are so many different perspectives that you're following through this. I saw some people on Goodreads say that they had a hard time following the perspectives because I think there was like 5 in total that you were following. I didn't personally feel that way. I thought the characters all had distinct enough voices and stories, but I really enjoyed this. I feel like I can't say too much about it without saying too much about it, but this was a very like tense thriller. I enjoyed reading about the very luxurious accommodations and the very like kind of snobby celebrities and stuff like that. It's just kind of a fun like typical rich people thriller, if you will, but there was some really fascinating plotting, some really cool characters in this. I really enjoyed it. So because I liked this one so much, I gave it like a strong 3.5 to 4 stars. I ended up picking another book by Ellery Lloyd, which I found out is actually a husband-wife writing like duo team, and that is called People Like Her. And this one was even more up my stream in terms of like topic, because basically we have this like mom influencer. So you have Emmy and Dan is Emmy's husband. Emmy is the mom influencer. She's very good at her job. She's got like over 1 million followers. She's got the picture perfect life, so one would think, but this thriller really focuses in on the scary side of social media and influencing and stalkers and like people watching you from like all angles and being able to figure out where you live, and it's so suspenseful. I was sitting there the whole time just like gripping the edge of my seat because I was like hoping nothing bad would happen. I was just like worrying about, you know, her children, her husband. Like I was just so worried. And the perspectives, the way they write, the difference between Dan and Emmy, their writing styles, it's so funny because Dan is a writer himself. He's a very blunt character, no nonsense. So he's always like, oh, well, this is what Emmy, will say happened, but this is the actual truth. And it's just so funny to see the differences in their perspective. Really amazing writing. This one was a solid 4 stars for me. I loved it. The only thing I had an issue with was the ending. Not the actual like thriller twist, but like kind of the wrap up of what happens after everything kind of settles, like the epilogue, if you will. I kind of had mixed feelings about it. If you've read it, let me know what you thought, because I was kind of like, really? But otherwise, this was a fantastic read. I read it in one day. I couldn't put it down. I just really enjoyed it, and it's terrifying. And if you have very small children, you might want to look up trigger warnings for this, just because it is a little bit on the, it definitely, deals a lot with like small children and how they're compromised when their lives are put online. So if that's something that you're sensitive to, just keep that in mind. Okay, next I read not 1, not 2, but 3 of the Jane Austen mystery series by Levin. Now this is a very comedic, cozy mystery series. It's very lighthearted, very comedy heavy, all these are like short, like 220 pages or so. These are really fast, like page-turning cozy mysteries, which is exactly what the doctor ordered this month. So the first one I read was the PMS Murders. This one I read in my cozy mystery reading 7 books in 7 days vlog. I'll link that above. I'll mention a couple other books that I read for that as we go throughout the reading review, but this was a solid 3.5 stars, which is about what this series is for me in general. It's nothing like, I never find like the mysteries to be like the most exceptional plot lines or anything, but the characters are funny and the writing style is just hilarious. So that's what gets me every time. We have our main character, Jane Austen. She is a freelance writer, and she's always picking up odd jobs, which gets her into these circumstances where she ends up witnessing murders and helping people out of the goodness of her heart. So just kind of like a part-time private investigator, which she calls herself just to get herself in the door for things, basically. She's got a big heart. She's very comedic, very funny, very dry humor, I would say, in general. It's just funny. She's named her cat Prozac. I mean, it's just funny. The next one I read was Death by Pantyhose. This one involves a comedian that is accused of murder, and that was her client, so she's trying to work through and help her there. And then the next one was Killing Bridezilla, which, as the name suggests, a bridezilla is killed and she starts to investigate the bridezilla's death. All these were fun. They were 3.5 stars. They were fast, quick reads, like kind of sit down in one afternoon, just enjoy them. They were great distractions when I was sick, so appreciate all of those. Very happy I read those. I'm planning to continue the series, definitely. The next one I read was Finlay Donovan Knocks Him Dead by Elle Cosimano. This is the second book in the Finlay Donovan series. I really enjoyed the first book. That was a 4-star read for me. It was very chaotic. It's a very chaotic cozy mystery series. Like, I feel like there's always a ton going on. But I love Finlay Donovan. Her character is really great, and then she has her assistant her name is Vero, and I love her character. I think she's just fascinating. Basically, in the first book, Finlay Donovan, she's an author. She's writing like suspense thriller novels, and someone overhears her talking to her agent about the plotline of one of her books in like a public place, and they think she's a contract killer. They mistake her, the writer, for a contract killer, so they try to hire her, and that gets her into lots of issues. I can't really go into the plot with this one without spoiling some things for the first one, but the series is hilarious. Definitely start in order with these. It's a very fun, action-packed. I could see some people kind of consider these to be a little bit past cozy, like they can be just a little more graphic than the average cozy mystery. I think they're still fairly cozy. You have the amateur sleuth element, the small group, like small kind of suspect pool, but they're definitely pushing it a little bit, so I would agree with that assessment. But these were good. This was another 4-star, 3.5, 4 stars. I liked the first book a little bit better, but this was still a solid second book, and I'm excited for book 3. Next I have Things We Do in the Dark by Jennifer Hillier. This is a thriller. Basically, our main character in this is Paris, and she's the wife of a celebrity who's retired. He's like a retired comedian, and one day she is arrested because she's found in the bathroom holding a razor covered in blood, and her husband's dead in the bathtub. So it doesn't look good for her. The police think she murdered him. They arrest her, and she proclaims she's innocent. However, she's not as worried about the jail charges as she is about her dark past coming out, and she's actually being like blackmailed and everything. So this is all about her past life, her trying to clear her name of like being her husband's killer. It's super fascinating. The ending for this, I really didn't see it coming. I was really surprised by like the who did it, the why, like, you know, the who, what, when, where, all that. And I loved learning about her past life. It was fascinating. The story's broken into like 4 different parts, so it kind of goes back and forth between her past and the present, and it's fascinating. Very well written. I really enjoyed her character, even though she was very like imperfect she was a very flawed character, but I still really enjoyed it and was rooting for her, and I really liked this. I haven't read anything by this author before, but I definitely would consider reading more. This was just a really fun, interesting thriller to me, a really great look at like a dark past and how someone can change and everything, and I just loved it. Okay, we're gonna go through these next few cozies kind of quickly because I did do in-depth reviews in my cozy mystery vlog, which is linked above. We have The Rocky Road to Ruin by Meri Allen. This was my favorite from that vlog, I believe, or definitely like in the top 2. This is the first in the Ice Cream Shop mystery series. Basically, you have our main character, Riley Rhodes. She's a travel food blogger and a librarian for the CIA, and she comes back to her hometown to like attend a friend's like parents' funeral, and her friend's brother have been left the ice cream shop and like farm that their parents had, and they're kind of arguing over who gets to, you know, who like what they want to do with it. Basically, they're deciding what they're going to do with it. They both have varying ideas, and the brother ends up dead, and Riley's trying to support her friend and trying to clear her friend's name, basically find out what happened to the brother. This was really well written. It took me in places I didn't expect. I kind of called the ending like who did it, but it was delivered really well, and the ice cream descriptions were so good. Like a great cozy mystery. I'm really excited. I just bought book 2. Very excited to read it. Next we have Murder, She Barked by Krista Davis. I wasn't as big of a fan of this one. It was like a 3-star. It was just okay. This is the first in the Paws and Claws mystery series. Now, I like some of Krista Davis's other works. This is an older series of hers, so maybe it's just because, you know, she was less experienced when she was writing this one. But I just found I didn't really care a lot about the mystery, but I loved the characters and the setting. So I want to maybe read one more in this series and see how that goes. But I just found the murder and mystery kind of so-so. That was kind of my general thoughts for that. Another one I read for that vlog was Live and Let Chai, a seaside cafe mystery by Bree Baker. This was one of the top hits for this. This was like 4.5 stars, 5 stars. It was just so much fun. A great like summery, springy, cozy mystery series, like just in general because it takes place on the beach. You have an iced tea shop. Basically, we have our main character, Everly Swan. She's opened her iced tea shop. It's her dream. She's on the beach, and a customer ends up being found near her shop dead, holding one of her, like, iconic, like, mason jar iced tea glasses, basically. And her shop is, you know, she's suspected. The police calls her out for it, and, like, makes a big fuss about it being her cup, and everyone stays away, and her business is suffering. So she's got to basically solve the mystery before her business closes down. So high drama. She fooled me so many times with this. Like, I was shocked by the ending. It was excellent. Like, excellent writing, fantastic characters, great setting, fun cozy, fun plot, like everything you want in a cozy. This was it for me. I loved it. This next one I'm a little nervous about talking about because I know it's been a big hit on BookTube, but I'm kind of, I don't know. Like, there's some things I love about this, but some things I hate, and that's The Writing Retreat by Julia Bartz. I was really excited for this. I was on hold in my library for this for a while because it's a new release. And basically you have a group of writers, like 5 writers in total. They're invited to this really wealthy writer, like very successful writers, like remote cabin, like mansion in the middle of nowhere. Like, you got the snowy setting. This would be perfect for like a December or January read. Not quite the right time of year for it, but I love the snowy isolation trope, so that was fantastic. The writers all get there and they find out that they basically have to write an entire novel while they're there for this like 30-day writer's retreat. And whoever has the best novel at the end of those 30 days will be given like a, you know, an amazing publishing deal. And these are all unpublished writers, like they're at the beginning of their career in terms of being an author. So it's kind of a too good to be true circumstance, and weird things start to happen. You know, lots of weird things start to happen. My critique with this is that I loved a lot of the characters. I thought they were interesting. I thought they were fun. I thought the writing was fun. The plot was great. The pacing was great. But there was some really graphic scenes, and I know it's a thriller, so it's not, you know, it's not cozy, but there were definitely some really graphic scenes, especially more like intimate scenes that I just didn't see coming, and I just was like, for me, it's just not my personal preference for reading. I don't really like to read scenes like that. It's just a little too personal for me. I also found the ending to be a little unbelievable, but you know, it's a thriller. It was fun. Overall, I'd still say like 3.5 stars. It was really fun. I would look forward to anything this author would put out in the future because I believe this is her debut, and I think for a debut it's amazing. If you are interested in the plot line, I would definitely suggest it. It's a very fun read. I definitely didn't see, so there was a lot of twists in this that I didn't see coming, and I really enjoyed it. So it was fun. I just caution about what I mentioned. It's not my personal taste. I know it's not everybody's tastes. So one that I actually DNF'd, and I'm sad about it because I was revisiting this series after I had stopped it and I couldn't remember why, and I guess this is why. This is Death by Chocolate Snickerdoodle, a Death by Chocolate mystery. It's by Sarah Graves, and I was talking about a new release in the series recently in my new April Cozy Mystery release video, which I'll link above if you want to check it out. And I was wondering out loud to myself why I hadn't read more in the series, because I'd read like 2 or 3 books. Well, I checked out the next one that I hadn't read, and there's just something about the writing that doesn't draw me in. I think the characters and the setting are interesting, but the pacing and plot is off for me, and I just find myself getting like bored and not engaged enough with the mystery. So I ended up DNFing it after like 50 pages. I want it to love it so badly, but I just don't love this series. Unfortunately, like everything is so cute. I love like the ideas, the plot, the covers, like, but I just don't click with the writing style. I really wish I did, but that was a DNF for me this month. One that I loved this month, this was one of the best thrillers I think I've ever read, and I actually had 2 like best thrillers I've ever read type books this month, which I haven't even mentioned yet, and this is The Turn of the Key by Ruth Ware. So I'm a pretty big Ruth Ware fan. I've had good success with the books I've read so far from her. This was so creepy. horrifying, like such a good thriller. Okay, so you have our main character Rowan, and she's basically kind of down on her luck in life, like a lot of protagonists in thrillers, and she finds this job posting for a nanny position at this like luxurious estate. So like a really good paying job. It's kind of remote, but it's a big estate. The two people who own it are like big architects. They're very famous, they're very wealthy. They're hiring her as like a live-in nanny for their children, and they have 3 children. They have like a baby, they have like a 4 or 5-year-old and like an 8-year-old. So the kids are pretty young, and so she'll also end up having to be left with them at times because of the parents' jobs. They travel a lot. Now, one of the things that makes this house creepy is that it seems to be haunted, A, but B, there's technology in like every room. So the house is like a smart house. Like there's intercoms in every room. You can control things with an app on your phone. There's cameras set up in the house. Like it's like a technology horror house basically. So it's really creepy in that aspect. I'm somebody who's definitely a bit weary of like smart home technology. It makes me kind of nervous, some of it. It's not my preference anyways, but this was great. So basically, you know, she gets left with the children, creepy things start to happen, she's hearing things, it's so, the suspense, the creepiness, the setting, everything. I would highly recommend this. I think this is one of her most talked about books, and I could see why. Like it's excellent. Definitely check this out. It was amazing. So since I mentioned that I had another top thriller this month, I'll just go ahead and get that over with. I read 2 books this month by Alice Feeney. So she is well known for writing Daisy Darker. That was like a big hit last year, and I read that. That was a 5-star thriller for me. It was really good. I liked everything about it. The writing style, the twists, the characters, the set, like everything. Like it really nailed it was a top thriller for me. And I decided to read Rock, Paper, Scissors and His and Hers this month. Like I said, I was reading tons of thrillers this month because I've been sick. You can probably hear it a little bit in my voice even though I'm feeling better. But these were both very good. The top one for me was His and Hers. This was unbelievable. Unbelievable. Rock, Paper, Scissors was also really good. I'd give this like 4 stars, but this was a 5-star thriller. This was excellent. So basically this is a dual perspective thriller. We have Anna Andrews, who is a news anchor, and she's being called back to her hometown to report on this case of like a woman's murder basically. And then the next perspective we have is the detective Jack, and he is the one who's on the case. And so they're kind of butting heads in different ways, and you get the perspective from both angles. And the thing is that they both have secrets that link them to the victim. So you have that element, and and Jack even knows that Anna knew the victim, so he actually knows about her like connection to the victim and stuff as well. So there is a lot of drama. This is high suspense, fast pace. I mean, the ending for this blew my mind. I called part of it, and I was I was proud of myself because I thought this was such a good thriller. But the layers of the plot, I never want to say too much, especially about thrillers, because I don't want to give anything away, but just you gotta read this. It's so good. If you are interested in the plot at all, check it out. It was such an amazing twisty thriller. I had the most fun with this. It's one of those books where I can remember exactly where I was sitting, the evening, like the time of day, everything, because it was such a distinct book in my mind. So highly recommend. Rock, Paper, Scissors was also very good. I'd say like I said, 4 stars, so not the same tier as His and Hers and Daisy Darker for me, but still very good. In this one messed me up. So this one really messed me up. This one really plays on your, I don't know, like kind of assumptions, I would say. So basically you have Mr. and Mrs. Wright, and for their anniversaries each year, they do like the themed, like, you know, 1 year's paper, like cotton, tin, like those kind of themes. And they write, Mrs. Wright writes a letter each year to her husband about like kind of like a summary of the year, how it went, like big life events. And it's really cool. So you get to read the letters throughout the book. And then you're also reading about the characters Adam and Amelia, who have won a weekend away at this like Scottish chapel, kind of in the middle of nowhere. Again, snow, like you got the nice like snowy setting here, and they go, things start to happen. It's very creepy, it's very haunting. This one is very psychological, very creepy, and excellent. Delivery was excellent. Definitely recommend this out. Alice I would say Alice Feeney is definitely up there with Lucy Foley and Ruth Ware for me now in terms of my favorite thriller authors. I'm just enjoying her work so much. She's done like 3 for 3 for me so far. Love it. So a couple more from that cozy vlog where I read 7 books in 7 days. We have Easter Hare Hunt by Nancy J. Cohen. This was a solid read, 4 stars. It's from the Bad Hair Day mystery series. We have our main character, Marla. She's a hairstylist and salon owner. She's about to give birth, so there's a lot of fun, like, baby shower, there's like a bridal shower, there's a lot of springy events, there's an Easter egg hunt. Basically she goes to this Easter egg hunt to style her client's hair before like this big charity luncheon. She finds somebody dead in an Easter bunny suit, and then chaos ensues and she starts to investigate on this big estate. It's a very scenic scenery, like very springy, very fun, and just a great cozy mystery series. It's one of my favorite cozy mystery series. It's one of the first ones I ever read and I just love it still. It takes place in Florida, so it's a really good spring-summer cozy mystery series in general because of the warm weather, but I definitely recommend this. The other like 5-star one from that vlog was Buried in a Good Book by Tamara. This is the first in a series, and this one plays with you. Our main character is Tess, and she's a thriller author. She takes her daughter, who's like 14 or so, to this cabin that she inherited from her grandfather. It's like in the middle of nowhere. The nearest town is really small, and basically they're unpacking on their first morning there, and this explosion goes off at the lake near the cabin, and body parts literally start to fall from the sky. Like there was a body in the lake, someone didn't know it or something. They like were doing like blast fishing or something, and yeah, very messy. And Tess, I think, is kind of a know-it-all character. She thinks she knows it all because she's a thriller author. She's always comparing the local detective to the detective in her story, which is really funny because there's some overlapping similarities there. The writing is punchy, it's dynamic, it's fresh, it's hilarious. She's a know-it-all, but like she's like a lovable know-it-all, and her daughter's relationship is priceless. I cannot wait for the next book in the series. Again, if you want more in-depth reviews on those books, check out the cozy vlog, but this was definitely a 5-star cozy. I cannot wait for book 2. I have it on hold, and I'm waiting impatiently for it right now in my library. Next, we have a totally new thriller author to me. This was by Lindsay Cameron. This is called Just One Look, a novel. This was so weird. Basically, we have our main character, Cassie. So she's adrift. She's recently been fired from this like pretty prestigious like law firm. She had like an incident there that you learn about, and she's had to take on this temp job at a law firm, and she's not very happy about it. And the temp job basically involves her having to go through all this like reports, information, emails to try to find information that's relevant to like the case the law firm is working on. However, somebody's emails get leaked into it, and it's one of the law partners, and she starts to read about him, and she becomes obsessed with him. It's creepy. So she becomes obsessed with the partner, Forrest, and then his perfect wife, Annabelle, but things are not all that they seem, of course. So she starts to delve more into it, and she becomes more and more obsessed with this guy, she turns into like a stalker basically. Like it's creepy. It's very strange because you have this slow progression into the stalker-y symptoms and everything, so it doesn't feel as shocking as like maybe it would be because of that slow progression. It's really interesting in like a strange way. But she basically starts to take a closer look at him, realizes things are not all that they seem, and that's where kind of the mystery and everything unfolds. This was really fast-paced, very interesting, very creepy, like very unsettling, which I think was the author's goal with the writing, but it was very like unsettling, and I liked it, you know, in a weird way, because it made you uncomfortable and just pushed your thoughts to a different place that you normally wouldn't be in as somebody who's, you know, not a stalker. So it was just very interesting. I definitely recommend it. I thought it was a very interesting like psychological thriller, and it was fun. It was like a good ride. I enjoyed it. Another one from that cozy vlog was The Last House Guest, a novel by Miranda. This was another thriller. Basically, we have 2 girls, like teen girls, who meet. One of them is a resident on this island. The other one vacations with her wealthy family there each year. And they become close friends despite their like socioeconomic differences and everything. So they're very like unlikely friends, but they become friends, and then the girl who is the resident on the island gets integrated into the wealthy family and everything. Well, the daughter in the wealthy family, her friend, ends up dying kind of mysteriously. She doesn't show up for a party. It's believed to be a suicide. However, her friend really suspects that's not the case. So a year after the incident, she actually starts to piece together and like get some new information that maybe suggests it wasn't a suicide, and she starts to investigate. fantastic. The ending really threw me. I didn't see it coming. I loved the writing. This goes back and forth between the past events like leading up to the night of the suicide and then the actual present moment. And there was a moment at the end where it kind of explains what happens to some of the characters who are left, and I had a go moment because I was like, yes, it was so satisfying. I can't say anything more, but this was a fun, fast-paced summer thriller. I definitely recommend it. I had a really good time with it. Next we have Effortless by Greg McKeown, and this is basically make it easier to do what matters most. This is a short nonfiction book about basically making your tasks and goals more effortless, because the less friction you have between doing something, like for example when you set out your workout clothes, you sign up for the workout class, it's easier to work out because you've already like made some steps for it, and it's like you have less excuses to not do it because you're already dressed in your workout clothes, you know? So the more like steps you can eliminate and simplify like the process to accomplishing your goals or taking steps towards your goals, the more effortless it is, the better and more successful you'll be at it. This was a good nonfiction. It had some like really interesting like diagrams. I liked how at the end of each book, like chapter, there was like a summary. So it really broke down, here was the like definitions of everything, here are like the actionable steps. I thought the breakdown was really interesting. The author incorporates different like interesting anecdotes and stories from different successful people throughout this. I thought this was like a really nice read. It wasn't like overly complicated, but you took away valuable information from it, and I really enjoyed it. So this was a great nonfiction. If you're interested in something like this, I would check this out. I found some like unique insights from this, and I just really enjoyed it. I'd say like a 4-star read. So one that I had to return to my library was Killer Kung Pao by Vivien Chien. This is part of the Noodle mystery series, and I love this. Basically our main character, Lana Lee, she is a like hostess and manager at her family's noodle shop, and she is running the place. Things are going well. So basically in Killer Kung Pao you have this fender bender that starts this feud between two of the women in Asia Village, which is the like plaza where all of these different like Asian establishments, like you have the noodle shop, you have like an Asian beauty store, you have different like culinary places, a marketplace, like a book store, all these different places. They get into a fender bender and they go at it. One of them's threatening to sue the other, like it's a big mess. And the next day in the like salon in Asia Village, these two women actually have like another fight, and one of them ends up dying. So Lana starts to investigate, she starts to poke her nose into it, and that's where the mystery starts. This was another 4-star read for me. This is a solid like 4-star series. I just really enjoyed the series, the characters, everything about it's really fun. Definitely would recommend it. The other one I DNF'd this month was called I Have Some Questions for You by Rebecca Makk, and this is one I've seen talked about on BookTube a lot. I only got like 50 pages in. Basically like a podcaster is invited back to her like alma mater, like high school, to like do a class and stuff, and, like present a class to the students, and she's going to like uncover some dark secrets because her roommate when she was in high school ended up dying, and it was deemed a murder and someone was like incarcerated for it, but it might not actually be solved. I just could not get into the writing style. It was really slow, and I just didn't care. Like I was trying to get into it, but I just didn't feel myself getting absorbed into the mystery at all, so I moved on to another book. It just wasn't for me. And then lastly we have Dead Mountain by Donnie, and this is the untold true story of the Dyatlov Pass incident. So this is a non-fiction / like memoir, because it follows the writer as he actually goes on the Dyatlov Pass in Russia. So he actually travels out to Russia twice. He's an American. And basically this incident involves 9 hikers who mysteriously die on this like Dyatlov Pass, which is a very rigorous hiking trail, but they were all very well trained for this. They were very well prepared, and there's a lot of mysterious conspiracies around it. I watched a podcast on it a while ago and was interested in this, and this book does the best job of breaking it down and had the most plausible explanation I've ever heard of this. I highly recommend checking it out because I found it so fascinating, and it was a really nice nonfiction. It wasn't overly stuffy. It had good like characterization, and it had at the end, with the author's like favorite theory, an actual rewrite of what he thinks happened that fateful day for those students who were out on the Dyatlov Pass and ended up perishing. So I found this to be very interesting. It was just an interesting look. I'm someone who is kind of fascinated with conspiracy theories and history, so this was just right up my alley. really enjoyed this. My dad also read this and really loved it, so if you're interested in the history, conspiracy theories, or if you've heard of this incident, you might be interested in this. Alright guys, thank you so much for watching today's video. I hope you guys enjoyed this reading wrap-up. This was quite the big wrap-up this month. I will have everything listed and linked down below if you want to check any of these books out, as well as that cozy vlog if you want to see some more in-depth reviews. Thank you again for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe. I do post new book content, especially in the mystery and thriller genres, every week on my channel. And let me know what you read this month. Did you like any of it? What would you recommend to others? And have you read any of the books I mentioned today? What were your thoughts on them? I'll see you guys soon. Bye.